Hello amateur film fans, and welcome back to episode number 3 of B-Movie Dreamer. As you know, my name is Paul and I am making an amateur film as an amateur filmmaker, and I will be showing you behind the scenes while we make the film. So thanks for tuning in, and as always, I work a little bit in between these videos to actually try to have something for the video, but ultimately to finish and make this movie. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to someone I mentioned at the end of episode 2, and that was the robot Luna, who is in the new film Space Spider. And Luna is a partial robot that's built right into the cockpit and the piece of the machinery that makes up the cockpit. Here we go. Hello Luna, and welcome to the show.
Well, hello right back. Thanks for piecing me together.
I thought, since you're going to be in the new movie...
You mean star in the new movie?
Sure, let's go with that. Star in the new movie Space Spider.
That I could help you discuss our movie by asking you questions?
That's exactly right.
Of course it's right. I'm Luna.
Shall we get started?
By your command.
Hey, isn't that...
A joke, yes. Here we go. How about talking about those spaceships that you have flying by you in between talking about the scenes of the movie?
Oh, okay. Has that been an issue?
Let's just say not everyone gets it.
Okay, transitions, jump edit, let's see, where do we want to start with that? Okay, so you want to know about the whole spaceship thing flying by between me talking? Well, as you may or may not know, and obviously maybe some of you don't know this since it was brought up as a question, if you look at most people who are on YouTube and they give information, whether they're teaching something or showing you how to do something, something like that, with any length of time, they're going to need to figure out what they're going to say. And they may have it written down, and they're going to do it in little blurs because they just can't remember everything all at once. So with that said, they do what they call jump editing. So they read a little part, and then they stop at that part. So then they look down at their sheet again and they look at what they're going to say next, and they come up and they talk to the camera again. But when you do that, now you have to splice it just right, because what will happen is, because they're generally in the same place, standing or sitting, like for instance I'm sitting right now, if I were to just put those two pieces together, you're going to see a slight jump, and that's called jump edit. If you were making a regular film where people were talking back and forth and you did this, that would be a problem, because you'd see a little jump, you'd see just a little twitch, and you don't want to see that in a movie. But in an informational video such as this, that's okay. People have come to expect it, and some don't even notice it anymore. And if they do, it's not a real big deal, and the people who are making it don't think it's a big deal. And that's what's called jump edit. Now, because I'm used to making movies, and you don't want to jump edit, you don't want a little glitch, a sudden movement, then you generally you put maybe like a transition if you need one, because we're not using different angles. So the computer will offer you, the editing system will offer you some kind of transition. It might go fade out to black, or it may do swirls or something that covers up, and then they're able to attach to the next segment. So instead of doing that, since I'm an amateur and we want to do this in an amateur fashion, I thought, well, why not skip the jump edit and not use the little transitions that they offer you, but why not make my own? So what I was doing was, while I needed to practice in blue screen anyway, I decided to make my ships, which we'll talk about at another time, and the blue screen, which we'll also talk about at another time, and I made my ships fly. So I'm putting them in between when I have to re-look at something and try to figure out what I'm going to say, so I don't mess it up and, you know, it doesn't look foolish or bad or whatever. Some people don't mind that. They just keep going if something happens or they say something wrong, or, you know, and that's just the way it is. They're very lighthearted that way. But that's just the way I would like to do it. So I just think it's even more fun because you get to see some more amateur work in this kind of field. So hopefully that explains why you see a spaceship coming this way or coming that way or going out or coming in or whatever it might be. There could be other things as well. So we'll see what we have in store as we go along this series.
All right. Thanks for explaining that. I personally like jump edit.
Hey.
Moving along. How about giving us an update of your paper mache project from last video?
Absolutely. And I even have some photos to show everybody.
Wow, photos.
Okay, well, let me see. Let me think here.
Come on, we're burning starlight here.
I'm going. Okay, my paper mache platform. So in our last video, I did a paper mache platform tutorial, and just to remind you how we do paper mache. People seem to have forgotten that when we learned it as a child, most of us, some of us never did, and I just thought I'd bring that out. So I showed you how I was, you know, making that, and so I've done some work since then, and what you're going to see next are a series of photographs that I took as I tried to accomplish each stage of the paper mache platform. Okay, so here are some photos that we'll run through as sort of a slide, and I'll just talk while you're looking at the photos. Okay, so the first two pictures are of it wet. I had just finished putting the paper through the glue and I attached everything to the platform, so that's what it looks like there. Next is a picture of when it was dry and how it looked there. Now, the next two is when I painted it white, and that's sort of what it looked like, all dried and finished like that. The next two, that's when I decided to put gray on top of the white, and that's what it looks like there. Next, you see I covered everything with the moon dust. I don't know if you can see that or not, but everything has some moon dust all over it. And the final shot is with the ship and the moon dust on some of the ship and the rocks. Okay, so as you can see, that's coming along. Now, I want to throw in this one little thing. I did something in my head as I was thinking about this whole paper mache project and what the moon surface was going to be and how the ship was going to take off on the moon and things like that. And so I was all prepared to paint everything white, and I was going to get some flour and sprinkle that around and get some rocks, paint them white, and have some more flour sprinkled around as moon dust, because not really thinking about it, I was thinking that the surface of the moon was white. And that's simply because I really didn't think about it, and you look up at the sky a lot. If the moon's out during the day, what color is it? It's white. Even at night, it's mostly white. It has some shades of gray and black in it, but it's nighttime, but the moon's white. So I just didn't think about that. So I looked it up, and when I looked it up, it of course showed you photos when we actually landed on the moon, and the pictures are very clear that it's gray, and of course the moon rocks are gray, and basically the surface is gray. But they actually took a poll and 3/4 of the people in the poll, when asked what color was the surface, they said it was white. So it's just kind of interesting. I was still wrong. I felt bad about that, but also at the same time, most of the other people did as well. So I just thought I'd tell you that little story there.
Okay. Impressive. Sorta. For an amateur.
Thank you, Luna, and that's it for today. Go ahead and say goodbye.
You say goodbye.
Luna.
Goodbye.
Okay, and that about wraps up video number 3 of B-Movie Dreamer. Next time I'm going to talk a little bit about how I have done blue screen and am doing blue screen, and I'm still learning blue screen. And I'm going to talk a little bit about building my spaceships from scratch, a little bit of kit bashing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm also going to talk about how I built my slider. For those of you who don't know what that is, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the little hamburgers that you get at the restaurant. It actually, you put a camera on a slider and you can move it back and forth, and it helps you move your spaceship or whatever it is you're doing or want to do, but mostly spaceships in different directions. So we'll get into that at the time. I'm going to bring you a little bit more of Luna. Also, I'm going to reveal a little bit of the plot. I haven't really said a whole lot about that, and I just want to reveal a little bit of that to you. And finally, I asked a dear artist friend of mine who has helped me in the past, and I asked him if he would be willing to illustrate the all-important B-movie poster of Space Spider. So he said yes, so that's terrific. And perhaps even as it goes along, I'll be able to show some beginning sketches of it. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I was able to have today's segment. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time as well. Take care. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.